Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, Podcast Pete. And we got a special guest on the show. We met the other day. Here's a person that takes action. He'll introduce himself in just a second, but I make offers occasionally when I see people that I think would be good guests. And it's amazing how many people don't take me up on it because either they don't afraid of what they're going to say or they forget about it. And Sam didn't forget about it. He texted me the next morning, and now we're on a podcast. So Sam, appreciate your I'm going to say appreciate you following up.
For sure. I mean, that's the lifeblood of this industry.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you two quick stories and we're going to get started. I have a person I called and told him I was going to spend money on this, this, and this. 3 days, I have not heard from him. I called another person. He gave me another name, and that person called back right away. If you call back and follow up, you get the business. If you don't, and I don't care if you're busy or you're not organized, when people are calling you, they're calling you for a reason. And so that's easy business. So Sam, tell us who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into our podcast.
Sounds good. So my name is Samuel Kirby Hartin. I'm the founder of Kirby Insurance, and we specialize in private health insurance for individuals, families, small businesses, and commercial employers. Our ideal referrals are self-employed individuals and families who don't qualify for ACA subsidies. They make too much money. So our goal is to help them save money and take advantage of tax savings.
That is awesome. I'm a big proponent of calling professionals. I don't pretend to know all this stuff, but I like to know who my professionals are. So when you were like deciding what to do after KSU, what led you to doing what you're doing now?
So honestly, I grew up in Canton, Georgia. So I went to Macedonia, then I went to Creekland and Creekview. My brothers went to Teasley and Cherokee. So I was just around everyone here so much. I was like, I need to get out and experience something. So I took a job in Nashville in a logistics position, and I was there less than 3 months. I was miserable, and I had joined a men's small support group, kind of trying to just engage myself a little bit more instead of sitting in a cubicle and being like, oh my God, what am I doing? And my friend Nick was like, dude, I mean, I can hear how smart you are, how analytical. He's like, why are you working for someone else where you're going to take 20 years to climb a ladder and you're not going to feel fulfilled? He's like, why don't you come and check out what we're doing with health insurance and see if it would be a good fit for you? And I was like, well, I mean, I know life insurance agents. I know other people. I've just heard horrible things about working in the industry. And he was like, well, listen, give it a month. He was like, you're already unhappy. He's like, I will make sure that you make the same amount of money that you make at your current job. Come over here for a month. And it changed my life forever.
Wow. I hear similar stories, and I'm amazed at there are people that want a paycheck every Friday, and that's fine if that's the case. When you're in your own business, it's up to you. There's no paycheck on Friday unless you produce value for your clients. So what would you say to our community out there? How do you try to communicate value through what you do?
So with communicating value, I mean, the first thing is obviously listening. We've got to hear what their situation is, where they are with coverage, what they're looking for. Is there some sort of pre-existing condition that needs to be covered? Are we making too much money for a subsidy and the Obamacare plans are too expensive? Once we figure out what the problem is, then we kind of guide them down different avenues to a solution. And typically, it's usually a few different options that we'll go through before they say, okay, this sounds like the right fit. Unless we're dealing with a cold cut case of, I'm self-employed, I make X amount of dollars, I don't qualify for a subsidy. I'm immediately going to start kind of gearing them towards a plan that's going to be tax deductible for them, and they can write off their monthly premiums. So they're not only getting quality coverage, but they're also getting rewarded on the back end for having health insurance and being self-employed.
That's awesome. You mentioned listening. I'm a fan of active listening, and I think Actually, Mr. Wonderful does some great content out there, and he was talking about that very thing. And here's what he was sharing. He heard through his mentors and stuff that always listen and don't say anything when you go into a meeting. The person that talks the most is the one that you can learn from them. But if you allow them to really tell you what's going on, they'll give you a lot of good information. But a lot of people want to be the talker in a conversation. The
Mhm.
talker never wins, the listener does. So, my question to you is like, during your journey, college, growing up, high school, grade school, what kind of click that you have that principle of listening? Did somebody pour into you? Did you read it? Did you listen to it?
I'm gonna say I didn't get that one till my mid or later 20s. I grew up in a very disciplined household. My dad was an Army Ranger, so obviously, rules are rules, and but for me, it was I had to kind of figure that one out on my own personally. I feel like uh, because when you're in your journey at the beginning, you're always just being told what you're supposed to be doing, and then at a certain point, you realize this is what successful people are doing. This is where I need to, step up my level in a sense, as opposed to, staying in with the masses and just doing what everyone else is doing.
That is awesome. You mentioned Army Rangers, and I'm a big supporter. I've actually had the persons in charge of Special Forces Transition Foundation, and they help Army Rangers and people at that level transition into the private sector. So I've been to two of their fundraisers. I've talked to numerous Army Rangers. Totally impressed with them. What did you learn growing up from your dad that you're applying to what you're doing now?
I think the biggest thing is accountability, especially with my job. This industry is a very, very tough industry to be in. It can be very soul sucking. The biggest thing for me is, when I make a promise to a client or I help a client get on a plan, I'm not just there to put them on a plan and then never answer the phone again. I'm there with you from start to finish at 2 a.m. When you're in an emergency room or not. And I think that is a lost value in this industry. And the one reason why a lot of our clients have stayed with us for years is the fact of we do answer the phone. We help with the small things. If there is an issue, we make sure it gets fixed. That's a great thing that he taught me. It was accountability, but also just a respect for the rules. For one, again, this is a very complicated industry. There's a lot of things and moving pieces going on, and you run into a lot of scenarios where people are being misled. So honesty, and then another big thing is just being able to clearly break down and explain something to the regular everyday person in a way they can understand. Because health insurance is so confusing. So being able to just clearly communicate and break something down and stopping and asking people questions along the way, like, do you understand what this means? Are you following along on the screen? Or I'll, kind of test them a little bit, like, what was, remember again, what was your deductible or what was your max out of pocket, things like that. But those type of principles are what has really helped me excel in this industry. Whereas a lot of other people are, like you said, but following up and doing the little things over and over and over again are what keep you at the top, not, the big moments. Those don't happen as often.
Man, I love it. I talked to the last, was it the the Governor's Gun Club was the last fundraiser. They always have it there. I mean, the last one was about 3 months ago. And I had conversations with four Army Rangers, and they were so meaningful. The depth of the conversations were incredible. And one of the things that I always like to share, like the morning routine, like our habits. So, what could you share with our viewers? Like, what's your morning routine look like?
So with us, like, again, my dad was, man of principle. So we were up in the morning, had to make our bed, You needed to be showered and ready to go in less than 5 minutes. It was three boys, so we didn't have any girls. We didn't have to, worry about that too much time in the bathroom. But yeah, I mean, and then we was just basic things. Our homework needed to be done the night before, and he was checking it in the morning on us. And for me, I mean, I was just so great at math, history, science. It was the only problem I ever had was literature. If I had to like read a book and do something on it the night before, I'd always be asking my older brothers to help me cheat, and they'd be like, "No, we're not going to do it because Dad will kill us."
Yeah. That accountability is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's fast forward to right now. What do you like? What's your morning routine look like now that you're on your own? Your dad's not there. You're doing your own thing. Give our viewers an idea of what that morning routine looks like now.
Some of them are probably going to look at me like I'm crazy. I think when I was 17, I would think my morning's pretty crazy now, but I'm up at it at about 4:35 in the morning. I go ahead and get into my system from my home office at home. I make sure that there's no messages that I haven't, or responded to, making sure there's no emails. And then I set my day up for success literally at 5 a.m. in the morning. All my leads that I have in my CRM, I make sure that they have, their drips in effect, that they're going out at the right times, that, everything is in compliance. Next thing I do is, I take Twinkie out. It's my dog that I adopted a couple of years ago. And he's a big pit bull of love. And we go outside and I let him run around the yard, do his thing. And then we do brekkie afterwards. And the reason I had moved home from Nashville was to help my parents. My mom got diagnosed with lupus this year. So the next part of my morning is really, kind of helping them get up and go and make sure my mom's good to go. And then, at that point, it's about 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I'm already hightailing it down towards the Battery to try and get to the office because it's, traffic's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a big believer in setting yourself up for success early so that the rest of the day is just focused on helping other people. Our policy here is HOPE, which is helping other people every day. And I feel like we're not truly helping people to the best of our ability when we're doing monotonous tasks that could be done, on our own before we get to work.
Wow, that is so good. I love my early risers. I'm up at 3:30. So yeah. I mean, I go to bed at 8:30, but hey.
Yeah, I go to bed early too. I mean, it's like 9:30. I'm cashed out.
Yeah. So, there's a challenge that I see and a lot of people see with distractions. And social media, I started out years ago when social media was just starting up. I always loved marketing. And I found myself discovering a incredible world of online because I'm down here, my family's up in Virginia, up in Philly. So I was able to connect with my nieces and nephews and family members because down here there was a small family. So my question is, how do you manage social media, being young, being savvy, being tech?
I'm not the greatest with it, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
So
How
I
do you
was
discipline yourself? What's your thought? What can you share with our community about what you do and whether it's perfect or not? We're not perfect, so
Yeah.
just share what yours looks like.
So to be honest, yeah, there's no perfect social media. Anyone who tells you mine's perfect, that's their version of perfect.
Mhm.
Um, but when I was younger, I was very, very private. I had, really bad social anxiety and stuff. And so I really didn't have, I didn't post a whole lot of stuff, on Facebook. I had like maybe 100 friends, stuff like that. So until I was like in college and took public speaking in college to be able to break out of my shell, uh, I really didn't have a social media presence. And then when I did, it was just all personal stuff. So in the last 2 years, we have really started to, open up that world of social media. And it's a doozy. I mean, it's you got to post every day, multiple times a day, and you've got to post great content. And there's different methods to the madness. What we're finding is just being consistent is what matters. And engaging my BNI as well through my group or through my social media is what I really, really try to do. I try to put more focus on the people in my group than more just on myself. to show like, hey, I'm a part of this community. I'm going to be here. I plan to help make this a better, better community to have people have better resources. So, I like to highlight, people in our group a lot of times on social media. And that's one thing we've been working on as well in our BNI is trying to like pick one person in our group once a week and, let's everyone, highlight what they do really great. Like for Kenny Lanier, our real estate agent, she's absolutely phenomenal when it comes to first-time home buyers and then people who are multiple home buyers in Cherokee County. She specializes in Cherokee County really well. It's easy for us to go on there, just, click share a couple times on her stuff. And then it all of a sudden gets her engagement up. And then she remembers me back, like, oh my gosh, someone's struggling with health insurance. I'm going to tell them they need to reach out to Sam, have him look over their policy and see if it's a good fit for them or not. So it's a back and forth game that you have to play.
That's really good. Thanks for sharing that. Now, public speaking, the second biggest fear to dying is public speaking. All right. So you're shy growing up. You get into college. What was that like for the people that, because I ask people to speak at our live events and I love the answer. I love the gymnastics I go through, like, it's not my thing, or I can't, it's all kinds of stuff, but it's fear. So you're thrown into the fire, taking public speaking. So share with our viewers what that experience was, because nobody wakes up a great public speaker. It's a muscle, and it's overcoming fear. What was it like for you back in school when you were taking that course?
So let's kind of like go back to my senior year at Creekview. Like we had to do what's known as our senior project. You had to give like an 8-minute presentation. And I got lucky and I had 2 out of my 3 teachers that we were presenting to for it were literally my JV and varsity baseball coaches. So they went a little bit easier on me. They're like, you had great stuff, but you literally were looking down at the ground the whole time. Like you were talking to the screen. So I think my biggest fear was just, acknowledging the people in the room and acknowledging that I might fail. And then when I was in public speaking, the first time that we had to speak, he literally threw it in our class. He's like, each of you are going to have 60 seconds. I'm going to give you a topic, give a speech about it. And it was the first one that he gave me. It was so awkward because it was like literally like 80% women in the room. And it was, you're out at a bar, you just met a woman, you have 60 seconds to kind of like introduce yourself and what what your aspirations are. And I looked at him and it's like, I have no idea. Like I literally just blumbered the whole thing, but it got everyone laughing so much that I was like, okay, maybe this isn't such a big deal when you do mess up. And then once I figured that out, it was like, when I mess up, I just got to get back on track. Just got to get back, on that straight line path of what I'm trying to talk about. Like even earlier when you were asking me about the principal thing, my mind was kind of going a little bit and I had to bring myself back. So that's the best thing that taught me, was being able to bring yourself back, when you're in a stressful situation or, maybe you don't have the answer, take a breath and then, let it out again. Don't just keep.
I love that. There's an attorney. He's 4th generation. His first name's Jefferson. I don't remember his last name. And so he's on YouTube a lot, and he talks about, being a defense, and let me see, prosecuting, I think, attorney. Yeah, prosecuting. No, defense. So what he was sharing was just what you said about breathing, is he can always tell when people get nervous because they talk real fast and they answer before they think about it. What he said to do is like, that's a good question, Sam. Are you saying that public speaking is scary? And then it's just repeating the thing and just through it, but doing it in a way that gives you time to think. Because when we get excited, we talk fast, we talk a lot, and we talk fast, and we don't think. And so I love that point. I love how you say it.
That's what we do in our discovery calls as well. We literally I'm like, okay, so the issue is we're dealing with too high medical premiums. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about, what you've been experiencing, what networks you've used in the past, things like that. reiterating that to them and saying like, I've heard you, tell me more. It makes them feel more comfortable with you and being able to help them.
Yeah, there's a principle, seen and heard. People want to be seen and heard. And if you, in your conversation, just like you described, if you're honoring that, then you get that connection.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? I'm a big proponent on comfort zone. Like, how do you get out of your comfort zone to grow that you could share with our community?
Still learning how to get comfortable getting out of my comfort zone. But I mean, the first thing that I was really doing that my satellite told me was, get involved in a BNI, get involved in networking and community, get vulnerable. You may not have the answers for everything for some of the people in your group, and we aren't the best fit for everyone out there for health insurance. There are some people that truly do need Obamacare or ACA, or there are some people who just aren't good fits for our products. But at least they're going to leave more educated, and we're going to point them in the direction to get what they need.
Mhm.
So I think that that's one great thing in networking to get out of that shell, because you're going to run into people who, just like you and I had that conversation the other night, where it was just inspiring. I was just happy I had a conversation with you, and that's you can't get that just sitting at home and trying to be on YouTube and different things. Like, yeah, you can get inspired from YouTube and everything, but it's not like actually having that human interaction.
Yes.
um, I would say another, oh shoot, sorry. um, I would definitely say that another thing that helped getting you out of your shell is just kind of practicing in the shower and stuff like that. Like, different, I learned a lot of our product pitches from being in the shower. My ex thought I was nuts, but that was the best way for me to be able to remember all the different details of all these different plans and be able to not sound like a robot over the phone. So I mean, it's just practice makes perfect.
Yeah. So, you're not married now, I'm guessing.
No,
Okay. And you went through a divorce?
no, no. I'm single. I just when I moved to
Ex-girlfriend?
Nashville, yeah, when I moved
Okay,
to Nashville, it
gotcha.
just ended up
Okay.
not working.
The reason I was saying I'm divorced, and so I went through. I had a person on my podcast, and he talked about PTSD, and then he said there's a thing called PTSG. We grow through our trauma. We grow through, adversity, and so my question, like, when you hit a tough spot and it knocks you down, how are you able to rebound? Is there something you do that has helped you that you could share?
And I think definitely communicating when you're down definitely helps, and that's one thing that I think I myself included, we're not very good about in this society, is saying like, oh my God, like I'm struggling with this and I need an outside perspective, or I need some help. We just tend to think we can do it all ourselves.
Mhm.
But my dad is literally one of my best friends. If I ever need a second opinion, there's no other opinion I trust more than him.
Wow.
If I'm in a situation with a client or a potential client, uh, and I need a second opinion on it, I'm going to ask him like, hey, do you think that this is what I should do? Uh, do you, because at the end of the day, like I'm always going to revert back to, at the end, I care more about how he thinks about the decisions I make more than
Mhm.
anyone else in this world. I don't ever want to let that man down. So it's a lot of times, being able to go back to your roots and really being able to hold tight to who makes you who, or who makes you you. For me, it's the 5 principles that my dad and his best friend Ron Kirby live by, and it's the reason why Kirby Insurance is named Kirby Insurance. It's honor, integrity, reputation, and courage. It's literally, oh shit, I was only the 4 out of the 5, but the point being though is, living by principles has helped my life. When things are down, I revert back to the basics, and I
Yes.
revert back to what helped make me get over the humps in the past. And then how can I do it better this time? And then how can I do it in a way that I'm not going to fall back down from this same mistake again?
Ooh, I
Because
love
it's
it.
okay to make mistakes.
No,
Life is
no,
full of them. It's
totally.
important to learn from other people's mistakes, but it's also important to fail yourself. Because if
Yep.
you're not failing, you are not succeeding.
You're exactly right. So let's go back to your roots. 3 brothers. I mean, two
Mhm.
brothers, but 3 boys. So where are you in the birth order, and how did competition with your brothers shape what you're doing?
So I'm the youngest. We're all 5 years apart. Zach is so I'm 30. Zach's 35, and then Josh turns 40 in August this month. Um, so I think because Zach was more very musical, but me and Josh, biggest age gap, but we had the most in common. I mean, we were running around lightsaber fighting and doing different things. But all three of us were very, very differently skilled. So we were never really competing with each other. More trying to kind of build each other up.
Hmm.
My oldest brother Josh, is a very, very, very talented writer. I'm not. I'm great at math. So he was very instrumental in me finally understanding how to express myself and write a proper, an explanation, or paper, things like that. Um, but we also were, again, built on that. We stand by each other when things were thick and tough, or if one of us got in trouble, we were all in trouble. So my dad never, never beat us, never did any of that. But, if we got in trouble, a pile of mulch was dumped on the driveway, or tools would be set up the next day to go fix something in the yard, or, we had to dig 20 holes to plant some Leland cypresses. I mean, it shaped the way that we worked together and thought about each other. And even to this day, I mean, the reason I came back is because Josh, my oldest brother, came back 15 years ago to take care of my mom in his 20s. So he's already sacrificed, and Zach lives in Minnesota now, and he's married. So it's my turn to get back. And again, my dad's like my best friend, so them staying with me now is kind of a blessing. I moved out at 17, and was very successful on my own because my dad had made me into that mindset to be successful. Uh, but yeah, I was like, I'm getting out of here. I want to live by my rules. And now it's just nice to have them around every day. So
Yeah, that is so good. Now, you mentioned about writing, and I flunked English in high school. I'm dyslexic, but I did flunk it, and I couldn't write my way out of a paper bag, wet paper bag at that. But I've written a couple books, 20, I have 20 journals beside me. I write every day, 2 and 3 times during the day. Do you do anything with journaling? Do you do anything with developing that writing that you could share with our community?
it's something that I have very, very recently got into because I never liked writing. First off, my handwriting used to look like chicken scratch. Like if it wasn't a math formula and I was writing it, my teachers would be very upset with me. But yes, it is very good. Even just the simple things, writing down, what do you want to do this year? Because if you write it down and you've committed not only in your mind to remembering it, but you've committed to writing it down, it's not like putting it on your computer. Same way with like when we're on a discovery call, I tell everyone, I'm like, you need a pen and paper. You need to write this down while you're listening, so it's
Mhm.
cognitively there, and then you can repeat it back to them. When you write things down, you're more committed to it and committed to memory. And writing down what you want to achieve, maybe even if it's just this week or this year, it sets the tone of, okay, now what do I need to do to get there? Okay, I want to help 4 families this week. How am I going to do that? Well, that means that I need to, make sure I'm at BNI this week. I need to stay up with my social media posts. And then the leads that marketing does send into us, I need to make sure that, like you were talking about, I need to reach out to them every single day, let them know that our resources are available to them. Um, so it's all
Man,
very
so
important.
good. Man, I want to just highlight to our community, you're hearing a master class on this podcast because I'm a big proponent of personal development and I kind of geek out on that stuff.
Mhm.
So I like to gear my questions of discovery around that. And I'll just say, quite frankly, one of the best I've had, and I'm going to guess, are you under 30 or are you 30?
I just turned 30. Last month was my 30th birthday.
Wow,
Yeah.
man, the future looks bright. This is great. So tell me, like, what kind of activities besides work do you enjoy that you could share with our community?
So I've still got my nerdiness in me. I do game. That's my way of being able to still be able to connect with my lifelong friends that life and career has taken us kind of in different directions. So a
Hmm.
couple nights a week, especially when it's later on, if I have an appointment, say someone in Nevada is like, hey, I want to talk at 6 o'clock this afternoon. Well, that's 9 o'clock here. If it's 8:30 and I don't have anything else that I can really do, I might hop on and say, what's up, guys, in Discord. Play one quick game for 10 minutes and then hop off just to keep myself fresh for that appointment. Um, Gym, another great thing. I need to get better at staying consistent with it. But yeah, there's more things that I want to get into. But I mean,
Yeah.
the main things with that is, and then walking my dog. I mean, every day that is a big release for me. Is especially when things are tough or you've dealt with a difficult situation or you're trying to help a client and the insurance company is giving you a hard time because there's a line missing on that paperwork, and you're literally like, oh my god, like this should not be this big of a deal, and it technically kind of is, but it's just like, now I've got to go through this whole process again. Got to resend it over and hope that they're going to be able to get this done and get it back to me today so that I can get them the help they need as fast as possible.
Hmm.
It's sometimes it is a journey. So
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. So I'm going to put your information up on the screen, but we just for our audio listeners that aren't visual, tell how can people get a hold of you, Sam?
they can reach us at kirbyadvisors.com. So Kirby spelled just like the character in the video game, Kirby advisors.com. And then my cell phone number is 470-222-9760. And then both ways are, and then you can reach me through email as well at sam@kirbyadvisors.com.
Okay.
But however you reach out to us, I mean, the main process for it is, discovery, finding out, who needs coverage. Is it just you? Is it your spouse and kids, etc.? What is your situation? What are you needing covered? And then we go from there. But it's all starts in the same point of discovery. It's how can I help you? And if I cannot help you, I'm going to point you in the right direction to a referral partner who can help you.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, as we wind down, what would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from this podcast today?
Um, for me, I think to take home from this is that no matter where you are in life, whether it's health, you're wanting to get health insurance or you're wanting to get life insurance or, you're just in a rut. Always remember, there are resources out there. You just need to know where to look and, what to ask for and be honest about your situation. A lot of times it's really hard to help someone who doesn't truly want help. So, I think that's just the biggest thing to take away from it. And then again, I'm so thankful for this conversation. I mean, it's just again another uplifting thing to remember why we're doing this in the midst of a bunch of chaos.
Well, I've done well over 400. So I have a frame of reference doing that many.
Yeah,
You crushed it. This is just, I know your dad and mom would be proud of you because here's the cool thing you only see yourself through your eyes. I always for the first 2 years I did these, I couldn't listen to myself because there's a thing called the third voice, and you sound different than you sound different than you are,
it's
and I
creepy.
couldn't handle the tone of the voice. So people would say, "Hey, did you listen to that?" I said, "No, because I can't listen to my voice." But so when you get feedback coming from other people, it's because they see you differently than obviously you see yourself. So this has been a great podcast. I can do them all day long, but when you have a gem like this, it's really special. So thanks, Sam, for your time, and we appreciate you being a guest on the podcast.
And thank you for having me on here.
You're most welcome.